With the elections approaching, we've seen the differences between the politics of liberals and conservatives become increasingly apparent. These differences have always existed in our country, but recently we have seen them have more and more of a negative effect on our political system. Partisanship is defined as a firm adherent to a party, faction, cause, or person, especially one exhibiting blind prejudice and unreasoning allegiance. This partisanship has caused huge problems in our country, and I would like to show you all the different problems that it has created and how they could be easily solved if we were a little bit more equipped to compromise. Just a quick graph showing the different bills passed by Congress throughout history. You can see 113 compared to all of the other Congresses in recent history. Now, in case you don't believe me that partisanship exists in this country, I would like to start with the examples of Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell. Both of them have served respectively as Senate minority and majority leaders for their parties. Harry Reid is a Democratic senator from Nevada, and Mitch McConnell, a Republican senator from Kentucky. Now, both of them have very clear examples of how partisanship has created this inefficiency in the American political system. First, I would like to show you this video here.
Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term.
Now, this is the type of partisanship that I'm talking about. His goal for the night, this took place right after the Republicans began to control the House. And instead of saying, we want to make America a better place, and instead of saying, we want to fix the problems that are in this country, he said, we want to get rid of President Obama. This is the kind of mindset that creates inefficiency. This is the kind of mindset that creates problems in this country. And instead of wanting to work with Democrats to make this country a better place, he doesn't want to work with them at all. He doesn't want to listen to what they want to have to say. He won't even work with the president. Now, my second example, Harry Reid. This photo shows a stack of bills on his desk. These were all of bills that were waiting to be debated while he was Senate Majority Leader. All of these bills were passed by a Republican House, but they were not being debated by the Senate because Harry Reid did not want to debate bills that had been passed by these Republicans. Instead, there are 332 bills here. At least one of them has to have good ideas that can help this country. But he was unwilling to work with Republicans. He was unwilling to even have these bills debated. And the efficiency of the American political system, we, the people, suffered because he didn't want to work with Republicans. He didn't want to debate things that had even been passed by Republicans. Now, I would like to move on to a group of people, veterans. Veterans are men and women that are willing to lay down their lives to protect the freedoms of this country. And you would hope that they would be free, that they would be safe from this partisanship. Sadly, they are not. We have seen time and time again veterans suffer because of partisanship in this country. I would like to take the case of the VA. For those of you who don't know, the VA offers health care, psychiatric care, and other services to veterans who serve this country. And they are infamous for having horrible customer service, extremely long waits, and other problems. Now, a spending bill was introduced to try and increase funding to the VA in hopes to increase its efficiency, to improve the services given to veterans. But this bill was blocked by Democrats because they refused to pass any funding bill as long as there was a cap on mandatory spending. Here we see veterans, people who are willing to lay down their lives suffering because Democrats wanted to spend more. Now, next up, 9/11 first responders. 9/11 first responders died, were injured, saving innocent civilians on one of the greatest tragedies to befall this country in recent history. And after 9/11, when they were cleaning up Ground Zero, the government told them that it was safe, that they would be okay. That was not the case. Since then, many of these first responders have developed cancers, degenerative diseases that are slowly killing them. And for a while, they had government health care. The Drug Act was passed 6 years ago, and that gave health care to these 9/11 first responders. But it was only in place for 5 years because Republicans wanted to make sure that the health care would not be abused. But 6 years later, it has not been renewed, even though there was absolutely no abuse to the system. This is because Republicans refuse to pass the bill as long as they cannot get guarantees that there will be a bill passed that will allow for the deregulation of the selling of oil. Here we see 9/11's first responders suffering, dying, because Republicans want to be able to sell oil more easily. In both of these cases, we see people who are willing to protect the people that are making them suffer, and they are suffering because these people are unwilling and are defending key political viewpoints of their party instead of the actual people. Now, this partisanship is not simply political. It is also social, and it has very dire consequences on our society. I'm sure many of you, including myself, have been watching TV and seen somebody of a different party than your own, whether Republican or Democrat, and heard them say something you don't agree with and think, oh my God, how can Republicans, Democrats be so stupid? But it's this kind of mindset that contributes to the partisanship. It's this mindset that not even listening to what the person has to say, that dismissing the viewpoints of 50% of the American population is somehow normal and okay. And it's created these extreme viewpoints in our society on both ends of the political spectrum. Now, we've seen a very good example of this come up recently. Donald Trump has been surging in the polls. His tell it like it is style of politics has become extremely popular among Republican voters. But whether you agree with his politics or not, I'm sure all of us can agree that he is unable to sympathize with the struggles of minority communities. And especially when we've seen recently, this especially with Muslims. There's been a very large anti-Muslim sentiment in this country recently. But we have seen this come back up and become violent and filled with hate. We have seen hate crimes against Muslims return to post 9/11 levels. The FBI reported a 14% uptick in hate crimes against Muslims. We see minority groups struggling because people are unwilling to sympathize with other groups, because people are unwilling to have conversations, and because extreme viewpoints have arisen from this. Now, on the other side of the political spectrum, we see Democrats moving towards political correctness. I would like to talk to you about sort of an offspring of this political correctness, and that is microaggressions. Microaggressions are small actions towards minority communities considered rude, but are mainly unintentional. In theory, it's being rude to someone of a minority community by accident. Now, of course, we should strive to be as polite as possible to everyone. But these microaggressions have become institutionalized. We've seen colleges around the country create facilities and means to report microaggressions. And in some cases, these microaggressions can be as small as asking somebody of Latino or Asian descent where they are from. This is happening in colleges. These are the future of our these kids are the future of our country. They're the people who are going to be running businesses in the future. And we are telling them that when they have a problem with something, instead of debating it, instead of arguing with that person, they can go run to a higher power. That's not going to exist in the real job market. If someone asks you where you're from and you're offended by that, you aren't going to be able to run to your boss and complain. These people have become so offended by these statements that they have banned them altogether. In conclusion, I am not asking any of you to change your political viewpoints. I'm not asking you to become a socialist or to stop being a socialist. I'm not asking you to stop supporting or start supporting gay marriage. What I am asking you is next time you get in a debate, next time you get in a conversation with somebody who has different political viewpoints than your own, to listen to them and allow that to potentially affect your own views. Thank you.